That's a common Bengals W. By God, I am excited to be here. Haven't done many shows since since the season unraveled. Man, did I have a lot going on. You can hear about that on other shows or whatever. That ain't what you're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Bengals offseason, specifically the news that just broke from Jordan Schultz. The Cincinnati Bengals have re-signed Jamar Chase, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. T. Higgins, the highest paid wide receiver 2 in NFL history. Now, I have not been here to talk the rest of the Bengals offseason. Now, if for some reason you subscribe to this channel, which I hope you do here at Common Bengals W. I'm Sean Ross Sapp, by the way. Well, I was going to do an off-season so far video. The Bengals have made a couple of defensive signings, and they brought back Samaje Perine, which I actually like a lot. I think that's a good one. Does bum me out that we wasted a pick, a 7th rounder on Khalil Herbert that we did need, but we needed Khalil Herbert towards the end of the season as well. A lot of people forget that. Chase Brown went down. We needed Khalil Herbert at the end of the season. So whatever. Up until like December, it didn't seem like there was a real possibility that T. Higgins was coming back. It's like, man, it'd be too much money, right? And then Joe Burrow, and I believe it was after the Cowboys game that I was actually at. The last game of the season I was at was in Dallas. And Burrow had said around that week, like, T is a need. Whew. So here's the deal. Jamar gets 4 years, 161, has 112 guaranteed. T gets 4 years, 115 million with the first 2 years guaranteed. So for at least the next 4 seasons they're together. Now, I believe that replaces the franchise tag that he plays on this year. I don't know if we've got the details on that. If anybody is in the chat, please let us know. Please let me know. And my dude Drew in here, listen, I love it, buddy. You're getting the chip. Chase also has the 5th-year option, no more tag, I believe. So then Chase would likely actually be signed for 5 years, including this year. Jamar is at like 40.1. T is at like 28.5. Now, I'm going to go through what sucks about this element of it, and that is the Bengals cost themselves $5 or $6 million on Jamar Chase by not getting him signed last year. Okay. They cost themselves probably $3 or $4 million on T. Higgins by not getting him signed last year, and probably about 6 or 7 on him not getting paid 2 years ago when they could have. Now, I understand, but like when we're talking about that amount of money, we're talking about 5 or 6 from Chase, probably 4 to 7 on T. Well, Kevin Zeitler just signed for 1 year, $9 million with the Tennessee Titans, and the Bengals desperately need interior offensive line. That will be addressed. I mean, I'll address it. I don't know if the Bengals are going to address it. They re-signed Cody Ford. That's cool. I think he earned that re-signing with his flexibility and all that stuff. He's getting swing line money for that, but the Bengals have nailed down 3 important pieces to Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow specifically said he wanted T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Mike Gesicki there. Now listen. I like Mike Gesicki. He was great. He is one of the better free agent signings that the Bengals have ever had. But I do feel like paying Jamar and T does allow you to sort of piecemeal running back, wide receiver 3, and tight end. Now, unfortunately, the injury to Eric All and the setback that he has at tight end definitely made things a little bit more difficult. And let's be real, Mike Gesicki is a lot more of a wide receiver 3 than he is a tight end. We have no idea what or if Jermaine Burton can be anything, but he's going to get one more shot. If Jermaine Burton can emerge as something, well, then, boy, will that be helpful down the line. I honestly have always thought the Bengals should re-sign Tyler Boyd as a depth piece. I think that would be very good. I would rather have him than Charlie Jones at this point. But Mike Gesicki getting the amount of money that he got, I was shocked by that. He ain't going to block anybody. That's why he still got Drew Sample. They re-signed Tanner Hudson. And listen, man, I've got a lot of feelings about Tanner Hudson because he came in and did things that we did not expect him to do on the least amount of money he could possibly get a couple years ago. And then last year, his catch rate improved from the year he had with the Giants to the Bengals because you got one of the most accurate QBs in history, the most accurate. And then his targets got cut in half because he quite literally fumbled the opening game away. But they're going to give him another shot. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Better block is all I can say. Chase Brown is the RB1. Samaje Perine is right there, RB2. No problem with that. I feel really good about that. I feel really, really great, as great as possible, about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Jamar Chase had one of the greatest wide receiver seasons in history off of a slow start and almost no training camp. Cool. And it's easy to forget how good of a season that T. Higgins had because there was this cloud over it. There was this cloud over the season in general. The slow start, Jamar not doing camp, the franchise tag, what's going to go on. But this man had a career high in touchdowns by 3, I think. Had he played probably 1 or 2 more games, he would have had his career high in yardage. So let's go ahead and make it like a per 17 game thing. Per 17 games, his stats average out to about 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns on 73 receptions. Damn. It's pretty incredible. And he's traditionally a slow starter as well. This guy had no touchdowns heading into week 5. Heading into week, I think 11 it was, he had maybe 3. But in doing this, you are telling Joe Burrow, listen, buddy, that whole running up the field and scoring every possession, you got to do that again. You got to do that again because we don't know what in the hell we got on defense. Because let's look at the defense right now. Oh, man. Trey Hendrickson, we don't know what's going on right now. It's heartbreaking. Will the Bengals keep Trey Hendrickson or trade him? And people asking me, how would I feel about that? Will the Bengals keep or trade him to my Lions? Well, buddy, he ain't going to the Lions. If he was to go anywhere, I would prefer it be the Lions. I like the Lions. This man was the only thing resembling a pass rush that we had last year. We haven't covered the Sam Hubbard thing. Sam Hubbard was clearly getting cut or would at best be asked to come back as a depth piece for about 10%, 10-15% of what he was going to make. He opted to retire. I love Sam Hubbard. I've got an immense amount of respect for him. I was there for the fumble recovery and the run back, and it was the most incredible play I've ever seen in my entire life as a Bengals fan. It was special. I felt blessed to be in the building for that, along with my friend Drew, and couldn't believe what we were seeing. But man, it was rough. Now, Von Bell, bye-bye. Jermaine Pratt wants a trade. We'll see. The ideal scenario there is Jermaine Pratt gets traded to the Colts for a 7th, right? Like that's what we're hoping, because Lou Anarumo might want him. That would be ideal. I think Njong Meta is going to play more and get more snaps. He was, I think, very good last year. He earned his spot on the roster. I think he could be an effective rotational piece there. Cool. Trey Hendrickson, unless you get an incredible haul for him, you're not trading him, because he's going to play on 16, 17 million this year. And a lot of people are like, well, what if he sits out? Well, good luck. Good luck with, nobody's going to know what you look like heading into your age 31 year as an edge in the NFL. No, you've got to play for that contract. Even if you're playing for like a 2-year, $27 to $30 million contract, you've got to play for that. Now, I would prefer the Bengals re-sign him. If you've got to trade him, I would want at least a first. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you can't get a first. He's 30 years old. Well, guess what? We're going to get a third off of him next year anyway as a supplemental pick or a comp pick, or they're going to have replaced him to such a degree that the NFL looks at it and says, okay, well, this guy did so well that you don't get a comp pick. And if that's the case, wonderful. I like that Joseph Osai is back. Joseph Osai should have been getting more snaps. Miles Murphy is going to have to emerge. They're going to have to draft an edge at some point. Now, what we are likely going to see out of this defense and Al Golden is a lot of the younger players playing more. Cam Taylor-Britt started to get abused last year to the point to where it was rough. I actually liked how a lot of our young secondary played. Dax Hill being like, yeah, I'll be a corner. Who cares? And tearing his ACL as our best corner, man, that sucked. But I liked it. But again, we don't know what he's going to look like this year. I saw some people say, bring back Awuzie. Only if he's on like the minimum. Only if he's on the minimum. And my buddy James Rapine, as I had pointed out, I wanted the Bengals to sign Asante Samuel and a veteran corner. Man, if you listened to my show last year, I was begging for a veteran corner. And I understand the pass rush, whether it be at defensive tackle or edge, it really, really helps the secondary. But what I don't want is to be in week 10 of an NFL season wondering if we can sign Eli Apple off of somebody's practice squad. I don't want that. They could have got Stephon Gilmore, and if the Bengals would have signed Gilmore last year, the Bengals would have went to the playoffs, because it came down to one play on any one of the 6 or 7 losses that they had that were down to that. Well, let's see. Bengals schedule 2024. But we're talking one pass deflection, one interception, one sack, one of those, and the Bengals would have been a playoff team. And I'm sorry, but having a Stephon Gilmore out there would have made a big difference. Yeah, as one possession games. Listen, they weren't winning the Washington Commanders game. I don't care if that was a 5-point game. They were not beating Jaden Daniels on that day. That's one I can live with. The Chiefs game, they got hosed. The Patriots game, they fumbled it away. The Ravens games, both of them were rough. The Chargers game, one possession, that sucked. The Steelers game, if they had Stephon Gilmore then, I think the Bengals would have beat the Steelers. I can look there and say that at minimum, one of those games would have changed, but probably 2 or 3 if they had a veteran corner. Miss Kate Fabe says, wow, Sean's nerdy fan extends to more than wrestling. Kate, can you set up my Raw podcast tonight for tomorrow? That way it archives. Sorry to talk business on the Bengals show, but I think Rob has the thumbnail. That Burrow conversation going to get loud sooner or later. Well, not really, because guess what? Lamar Jackson still ain't 1-1. Josh Allen still ain't 1-1. Jalen Hurts has, though, but man, listen. The Eagles also run their team like a modern day front office. The Bengals do not. The Bengals front office sucks, bro. It's so bad. It's so bad. Okay. Bengals released Alex Kappa. Good move. It was going to be him or Volson, and you knew it was going to be Kappa because Kappa has the big Kappa hit, as Mario would say. But Cordell Volson listen, he should not be the starting guard either. Let me be clear about that. Cordell Volson should not be the starting guard for the Cincinnati Bengals. But what they'll do is they'll try to make it work because he's on his rookie deal. That's what they're going to try to do. They should have tried to sign Kevin Zeitler. He is the perfect bridge player. The perfect bridge player. But they need 2 guards. Sean, I love you as a person. Is this guy what you guys really needed? Yes, it was. The Bengals won 9 games with Jake Browning as their quarterback 2 years ago. The Bengals won 9 games while getting hosed by some pretty terrible officiating, and I think that's objective here. The Chiefs game, all the face masks in the Ravens game. The Bengals did that with a terrible defense. And assuming Trey Hendrickson is playing for the Bengals this year, Hubbard not getting those snaps, Von Bell not getting those snaps, in my humble opinion, it is addition by subtraction there. Ryan Rico signing a 2-year extension. I'm very happy. He's the best punter in the league. Releasing Sheldon Rankins. You knew that was going to happen. What else do we got here? Okay. A re-signed Cam Sample. That's good. They needed to do that. They signed Oren Burks to a 2-year contract. That's a good depth piece at linebacker. Regardless, you had to get ahead of that knowing that Jermaine Pratt isn't happy. Re-signing BJ Hill to a 3-year contract. That wasn't something that I saw coming after they drafted McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins. I thought they were doing that to get cheaper in the trenches, but I think they learned after last year with DJ Reader, gotta keep some of your veterans there. But they also signed TJ Slayton, which is an honest-to-God nose tackle that they needed. So everybody last year said a couple things. Veteran corner and a nose tackle. Need those 2 things. They got none of them last year. This year, they got the nose tackle. I would like to see them pick up another defensive tackle. They gotta. I would like another edge, which I'm probably going to try to address that in the draft. I like Osai enough to where I'm like, okay, I'm okay with him. And I mean, man, after that Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl spot, like it's almost like he was damaged goods to Lou Anarumo, which is a bummer. Because he did not get the same opportunities in 2023 that he got in 2022, which technically wasn't his rookie year. But, like, we're talking about him playing, like, I feel like he played half as many snaps in 2023 as he did 2022. And that's unfortunate. And he was used heavier, way heavier this year. And I think did pretty well. He had 5 sacks. I thought he did pretty well. And he's still so young. He's like 24, 25. So I'm good with him there. Now, if he has to step up and be like the starting edge and get like way more snaps, okay, I'm okay with that, especially considering the deal that he's on. And listen, that is better than Hubbard in general. Draft is super deep in defensive tackles. Yeah, that's how I think that that would have I think that's how it's going to be addressed. Would you have traded Myles Garrett for T. Higgins and extended Chase and Garrett rather than T and Chase? Ooh, this is a good question. Would I have rather I don't know about rather. And I mean, T. Higgins is 26, right? Like we're getting his prime years. He has not hit his prime yet. But Myles Garrett is probably the best defensive player in the NFL. He's 29 and is probably going to be good for that until he's 35. Had they done that, first off, they would have had to have packaged a pick with it. I don't think that the Browns were going to give up the best defensive player on the planet for T. Higgins. But if that was offered, I would have absolutely taken it. Absolutely taken it. Yeah, the defensive interior guys, I think that is getting addressed in the draft for sure. What I need addressed in free agency now is interior offensive line badly and a veteran corner. Now, Geno Stone staying is trash. So, I'm torn on it. Because the Bengals badly got to keep what they're confident in on the secondary. But once December rolled around, Geno Stone was a different man. He was a completely different guy. Once the Cowboys game rolled around, he was way different. Like he had, I think over the course of 5 games, he had 4 pass deflections and I want to say 3 picks, right? And he had that one that went back. So if we can get that type of guy that we saw from week 13 to week 17, I am all for Geno Stone. All for Geno Stone. Zach Taylor hot seat. If the Bengals start off 0-2 in 2025, I think Zach Taylor is fired by week 3. I don't think they can do that anymore. Great. My tax returns were accepted. Let me know what you guys want to talk about in the chat. I'm up. It's 12:20 a.m. I appreciate almost 2,000 of you here, which I would imagine a large percentage of you are from my personal Twitter, but go follow me at Common Bengals W. I am not an insider. I am not a reporter. I am a podcaster. Now, also shout out to Ian Rappaport for reporting that the deals were close to being done this weekend. And then James Rapine, who, listen, I just want to say this. I admire James Rapine so much. He is a guy that I have listened to since he was on Mo Egger's show as a producer, like over a decade ago. We are spoiled in Cincinnati with great coverage from James Rapine, Jake Lisco, Andrew Foxmiller, Malik, like spoiled. Goodberry, for the love of God, Goodberry. Like I feel very, very spoiled that there are so many wonderful, colorful, knowledgeable people talking about the Bengals. Because listen, I don't know a fraction about football as what I do about pro wrestling or the things that I cover, MMA. But I feel very fortunate that we have those guys to listen to. And on the red side of things as well, like Jeff Carr, love that dude. Love that dude. My dude, Zachary Wentz. Look at this. Look at this. A big union of pro wrestling fans or pro wrestlers. And listen, I am a pro wrestler as well, that are Bengals fans. I said, we actually did it. Hell yeah, we did. So I see that Jordan Schultz says the Bengals will actually lower both players' cap hits this season. Higgins' cap hit was over $26 million and Chase's was over $21. Both will now decrease, giving Cincinnati more flexibility to continue building their roster and almost getting ready to see me punch my standing desk. Hell yeah. Let's go. Offensive interior, defensive interior. For the draft. Okay. For the draft, offensive interior, because you want to get cheaper at offensive guard. With defensive interior, you do have Jenkins and McKinley Jackson. What other wrestlers are Bengals fans? Like I know there's Pillman, Zach Wentz, Sammy Callahan. I had heard that Roderick Strong was a Bengals fan at one point. McCaffrey for a first-round pick. That ain't happening. Do they trade Hendrickson? Oh, yeah, Dawkins. Of course, Dawkins and Mox. Of course, Dawkins and Mox. Zach says Roderick Strong is. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So, the trade thing is so tough because you cannot replicate, you cannot replace Trey. It is putting scotch tape over the hole in the size of your ship after you just hit an iceberg, right? Like, you're not going to do better without Trey Hendrickson, and you cannot afford to do worse on defense. If Dax Hill was healthy the whole year, if everybody was healthy the whole year, at best, the Bengals might have snuck into the playoffs. You have no semblance of a pass rush unless Joseph Osai takes the biggest leap possible. Pat McAfee says, can't believe since he got Chase and Higgins both done. Congrats to Bengals fans. Your team is spending. What do they do with the rest of the salary cap? Can Bengals make it back to the Super Bowl convo? Mina Kimes, wonderful. Another person that covers the Bengals or covers football just exceptionally well. The guarantees. Burrow asked Cincy to spend cash and they delivered. Good for them. There's this like misconception that the Bengals don't have cash. Like, listen, if you own an NFL team, you are profiting. You can just own an NFL team and that's it. Question about the Reds. Are you concerned about Stevenson being hurt? Buddy, I am concerned about everybody on the Reds being hurt at all times. It seems like baseball injuries that are at an all-time high and basketball injuries. So yes, I am. Bengals need a legit backup QB in case Burrow goes down again. Chris, buddy, friend, Chris, they've got a gentleman by the name of Jake Browning under contract this year. I don't know if you're familiar with Jake Browning, but he won 4 games as the starter of the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023. He led the NFL in completion percentage. He threw for nearly 2,000 yards after starting only 7 games. Miss Kate Fabe says, you don't get 2 QBs before I get one. Now, hold on. You're a Steelers fan. Now, I love Mike Tomlin. I've got an immense amount of respect for Mike Tomlin. But here's what the Steelers will do. The Steelers will go out and they will find, let me see, free agent QBs. Let's say they got Mason Rudolph back, right? The Steelers will go out and they will find, oh God, who's out there? Who's a free agent right now? Besides Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like, they get Aaron Rodgers, they'll win 10, 11 games. That's just what they do. But they will sign Cooper Rush. And they will somehow have a winning season. Oh, no, he signed with the Ravens. They'll trade a 7th round pick in 2033 for Cooper Rush or Marcus Mariota and somehow win 9 games. That's what they do, man. It's insane. It's insane. Let's look at who's available right now. See who I would like the Bengals to sign. This is me with, listen, I ain't good, Barry. That man's a genius. So let me see who's available right now. Available. Oh, yeah, the QBs that are available right now are Aaron Rodgers. Trey Lance, that's the guy. That's the guy. Trey Lance just closing his eyes and throwing it up there, and DK Metcalf just yanking it out of the air. Oh my God. Josh Johnson at 39. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz seems like exactly the kind of guy that the Steelers would sign and he would win 9 games, right? Where'd Russell Wilson go? Is he signed yet? They might just bring him back. That was a great signing. I mean, if you all saw my shows last year, I thought that the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson signings were both good, and they were both good. Because it's like, okay, if somebody else wants to throw these guys away, let's pick them up and see which one works. And they both work. I swear, wait until the NBA finally expands, which should have happened a long time ago, by the way. Now it's probably too late. Watch what happens. And I feel like it's moved away from that a little bit, but I'll tell you what I mean. 2016 messed the NBA up so bad. They gave some of the dumbest ass contracts to people who were clearly washed or not good. Mozgov got paid, right? It messed up the Lakers for a long time, them having to unload good talent just to get rid of his deals. But for a while, there were a lot of these deals that were just getting handed out. And again, it's went away from that. But like these NBA teams would have done anything to unload some of these deals. So if they would have had an expansion team start like 3-4 years ago, I think there would have been some incredible talent left unprotected in expansion drafts. And some of these expansion teams could have came along and got a couple fringe near all-star players that some NBA teams were just like, if you want to take their deals, we'll take them away. And these expansion teams would have been happy to do it. I think it'd still happen. Ooh, Desmond Ridder. Jeff Driscoll. Oh, boy. Okay, so who do we have at offensive guard that is available? Brandon Scherf's the ideal one. They have him listed as market value $6.6 million. If they could get him for $6.6 million, I'd throw a parade for him. But if you got Brandon Scherf and Will Hernandez for a combined $10 million, well, guess who was making roughly that last year? Gentleman by the name of Alex Kappa. But I would love Tevin Jenkins. If you could get him, I would like him. But if you ended up getting Hernandez and Scherf for that amount, sure. Chris says Zeitler for a guard. Zeitler got signed. That was my pick because I think he's the perfect bridge guard. So you could have signed Zeitler, drafted a guard, and straight up told him, listen, Kevin, here's the deal. Help him move on or help him move along, develop him, and then next year, maybe we will also re-sign you, and you'll just take Volson's place as well. Because I don't think that the Bengals have forgotten Andrew Whitworth and how good he was for how long he was good after they let him go. There are times over the last 2 years I would have still taken Whitworth. So I'm talking skinny, modern day, selling car insurance with a gecko Whitworth. I would have taken that as well. Thought since he would make a play for Mekhi Becton. How bad was that meeting last year that they didn't sign him? I almost fell down. They didn't sign him last year and didn't play for him this year or didn't bring him in this year. Okay, so corner. I would also just bring back Mike Hilton. I would bring back Mike Hilton. Stephon Gilmore already signed. Or no. Stephon Gilmore's out there. So I would love him. I was screaming for him plenty. And he wouldn't be that expensive either. There are a lot of veteran corners available. And I mean a lot. So if the Bengals don't sign at least one, I'd be very frustrated by that. Because it was so clearly an issue last year. Shaq Griffin, I'd love Shaq Griffin. I would love that. That would be incredible. So if you watch the Bengals defense the last couple of years, like they weren't good the last couple of years anyway. Lou Anarumo was a Jesse Bates merchant. He got successful off of Jesse Bates being one of the best players in the NFL. And then when Jesse Bates left, well, he also got very lucky that the Bengals defense in the red zone would pull off some miraculous, crazy plays. And you know which ones? Like a million of them. It happened nonstop. But like, let's see. Oh, man. It's rough, man. It's rough. Where the hell's the defensive stats here? I mean, the Bengals just like Cam Taylor-Britt appeared solid. And I'll tell you what happened. Go back and watch this game. I think it was like week 2 against Patrick Mahomes, where he had that unbelievable interception. Just one of the most incredible interceptions I've ever seen in my life. But Patrick Mahomes, hate to say it, ain't no bitch. And if somebody picks him off, Patrick Mahomes knows that he can go back at that guy and beat him. And what he did was you could watch him after that start picking on Cam Taylor-Britt. And he was really getting diced up. And then every quarterback in the NFL started to pick on Cam Taylor-Britt. The point to where Cam Taylor-Britt said, yeah, I probably shouldn't be playing right now. Not ideal. Logan Wilson, he will hopefully be healthy this season. They need a healthy Logan Wilson. Very, very badly. But they do need a better pass rush. And the guys that they have aren't, on the defensive tackle end of things, aren't traditionally that. But I'm glad they got a nose tackle. Nose tackle addressed. But the big glaring holes to me, if you have to sign at least one guard. Have to. Ideally 2. Ideally 2. You should sign an edge. Should. But you definitely need a veteran corner. And they have the money for that. Who's available at edge? Gosh. Not a lot. Not a lot now. But, I mean, it doesn't look like they'll also be very expensive. Zadarius Smith. Thought he was, yeah. Oh, boy. You guys are going to make me get off this show. So, I had planned on doing a show as like this has been the off season so far, and I wanted to do it before Chase and Higgins re-signed. That way I could do just a different show with Chase and Higgins. Do you all see how abruptly and crudely I put this thing up? I didn't put my light up or anything. I've got another studio right over there, but takes longer than I was willing to wait to set it up. So I didn't even know this news for 45 minutes because I was filming the Fightful Select Backstage Report podcast. But damn. And I see now people are saying, Shannon Sharp saying, they can't pay Trey. Is it worth it now being in salary cap hell? The Bengals are not in salary cap hell. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Like that last cap hit year for T. Higgins is going to be like 40 to 45 million. But we're talking about what? How many years from now? And it's going to be like the cap's going to keep going up 15 to 20 million every year. Yeah. 4 years, $115 million deal. The Bengals do not have to worry about wide receiver until the next decade, bro. The next decade. They don't got to worry about quarterback. They don't got to worry about wide receiver until the next decade. Two of the most expensive positions. They don't have to worry about it. If you could build an NFL defense with wrestlers, who would you build with? Well, obviously Moose, AJ Francis, Braun Breaker, people who played in the NFL. Just hope that T stays healthy. Yeah, gotta. Guys, please leave a thumbs up if you like this show, or if you don't. I mean, it would help either way. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. I'm going to go consume some other shows, but this was a very unlikely outcome. The Bengals keep their 3 biggest stars, and I'm hoping they keep Trey as well. The cap's going to keep going up. 44% of their salary cap on 3 offensive players is what everybody's saying. But cap hit's going down. Guys, until next time, this has been a Common Bengals W.